For months, we've been begging Matt LaFleur to unleash the aggressive version of this offense. On Thanksgiving Day in Detroit, he finally answered that call. When the game was on the line and there was 90,000 screaming Lions fans willing their team to victory, LaFleur took a hard look at Jordan Love and said, "You've got two shots. Go win us this game." And spoiler alert, he did. This is your Packers 31-24 complete breakdown. And folks, the margins were razor thin.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby. It's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Sounds Good. Yes, I am back. My name is Rob Ralph. If there has been any new subscribers, you know that Jordan Olson has been holding down the fort as of late. We did have a very major preventative surgery within our family, and so I needed more than a couple weeks off, so you can expect me coming back in here and there. But a big shout out and thanks to Jordan for holding down the fort. I know that he had Kalani Jones on, so thank you for Kalani too as well for coming on. I know it's pretty busy here with the Thanksgiving holiday, so I hope that all of you are having a really great Thanksgiving. And just know that we do have new content every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Of course, these weeks are just slightly different, so you can expect a different schedule when there's an earlier game or a later game. And yeah, it's good to be back. You know, the Eminem song, Guess Who's Back, 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 Back Again. Rob Ralph's back. Tell a friend. Okay, no more singing. I promise. I'm done. But as I alluded to in the beginning, what an awesome victory for the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving. And man, it was a pretty good matchup all the way through. I thought it was going to be a little bit more defensive, and we'll get into that too. I thought their defense did have a pretty good game, minus a quarter and some change or two, and specifically from a player that we acquired in the offseason. And I thought that, you know, our offensive line really held it down really well. I think this is the combo for our offensive line. I think it's really clicking. I think Belton, who I've always thought was a guard. I know he played left tackle at NC State. But him, Ryan, and Banks, and if Banks can continue playing at the level that he's at, man, this offense with Tom on the bookend on the right side and Walker holding it down on the left side, it's been really good. It's been very good. So we'll get in more into all of that, but let's start with this offense because Jordan Love, I think this is one of the games that we were waiting for all season. You know, he just wasn't good, but he was very, very efficient, and he was clutch. You know, ice cold, ninja level, assassin level quarterbacking when it mattered the most. You know, his stats: 18 of 30 for 234 yards, 4 tutties, and 0 INTs. 124.2 passer rating, 95.0 QBR, and that is definitely elite territory. And like I was just talking about from before, but 0 sacks taken against what I would consider Aiden Hutchinson, Lee McNeil, a pretty good Detroit Lions front. Not great, not absolutely elite, but pretty good. And man, you know, a really good money stat for that is when Jordan Love had a clean pocket. 14 of 17, 190 yards and all 4 touchdowns, 152.8 passer rating. It's obvious for any quarterback, maybe unless you're really bad, but if you protect your quarterback, and give him some time to survey the field with the weapons that he has, with the bevy of weapons, you know, he's definitely going to carve you up. And it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows. There was a little bit of a shaky start, so, you know, we didn't miss Bull Melton on what should have been pretty much a walk-in touchdown. That was a layup, and I know all of us jumped out of our, you know, Thanksgiving couches, or maybe you just did the, oh, but you still had your food on your plate, whatever it was. I know I kind of did the jump. Can't believe you missed that. You know, missed Christian Watson on a crosser, you know, two early misses, and you're kind of thinking, uh-oh, you know, here we go. But, you know, the perfection that followed from that, you know, from that point forward is basically, you know, played a perfect game. I mean, Jordan Love indoors in a dome in perfect weather. I mean, I don't know, man. Let the guy cook, and it seemed like Matt LaFleur was giving him all the keys. The checks he made, I thought were really good. Against a push. Like I've continued to say, and I'm sure Jordan has alluded to on here as well, specifically up the front with Banks, Ryan, um, and Belton has really, really helped. Really, really helped. The deep ball to Watson, his best deep shot of the year, was at 58, yards in the air. The fadeaway jumper to Dontavian Wicks on that fourth down with the defender draped all over him in Branch. Branch is a hell of a player. Man, I wanted Branch so bad in that 2023 draft class. And I know that his stock fell a little bit because he tested and he didn't test that well. I think it was Raz and his speed, but I could be wrong on that. But man, they got a hell of a player in Brian Branch. And the back-to-back third and fourth down throws at the end of the game with the game on the line, really, really big. The big moment trust. This is this is basically what we've been saying all season. Jordan Love is that dude, in these big moments. 3 Thanksgiving games. I'm not sure what it is. Thanksgiving, 3 wins has been really elite. 9 touchdowns, 0 picks, 3 MVP trophies. He's built different on Turkey Day. He definitely wants that turkey leg. And you know what? We'll get into this a little bit too, but some coaching decisions. LaFleur gave him 2 chances on those final plays. 3rd and 3 and 4th and 3, both passes. No conservative run to milk the clock. No playing scared. Even though I was thinking, okay, well maybe you just might want to run here, run it more down. You do have a really good defense, and Micah Parsons was definitely starting to tee off. I think Tom Brady might have hit that point on the broadcast too, but they weren't playing scared. Trusted Jordan. He said, "Go win this game." I mean, I can't ever remember a time I felt like the keys were completely handed over, to Jordan. Maybe there's been a time or two and I'm just forgetting because I'm just in the moment and elated with how this game turned out. But, that's the evolution of this offense. I believe, that's the trust level that we've been begging to see from Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. But you know what? He couldn't do it without his players, right? And the weapons that he has. And Dontavian Wicks breakout. Woo, baby. I kept telling Jordan, if Dontavian Wicks figures out how to catch the football with how good he is as a route runner, man, that guy's going to be hard to stop. And it was on full display today. I don't know how you sit Dontavian Wicks after a game like this and what he's proved. I just don't know. I don't know. He came up really, really big. 6 catches for 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the fourth down dagger and the game sealer. Nearly 16 yards per catch. This was definitely the Wicks game we've been waiting for since, I think, about 2023. The first touchdown, yeah, that was a controversial catch. Yes, the Lions fans are definitely still melting down about if his right foot was in when he caught the ball. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought that I get it after the way that they explained it, that as soon as he caught the ball, that was his right foot that was down, but it looks like it jumps up, pretty quick. But they counted that one as the first and then the left the second, but I thought for sure that that wasn't going to be a catch. But just a gutsy call, really, really gutsy call. And ended up working out to our benefit. Let's move on to the other one. The game sealer, loses his shoe on the route. It doesn't matter. 2 shoes on, 1 shoe on, 1 shoe off. Dontavian Wicks is leading the all hands team. Jordan throws it high and away from the trailing defender. Wicks high points it with the vice grip with his hands, and that's big boy football. Branch was draped all over him. He had sticky coverage, real sticky coverage. And that's what he did to make a winning play and seal that game away. It was just absolutely awesome. It really was. And for a lot of the context for Wicks too, Wicks has been pretty quiet this year. I know he's had some injuries last season, like I alluded to. There was the drops that were absolutely killing him, especially against man coverage. I mean, when this offense needed someone to step up, with Jaden Reed out, Tucker Kraft's out, Matthew Golden's questionable, Wicks delivered, a game of his career. Really did. This is his best game. Absolutely. Josh Jacobs returned, coming back from the injury on a short week on the road against the stout Lions front seven. Definitely not ideal circumstances, but 17 carries, 83 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, and I'll just stop right there because if you're thinking that's probably one of his best, if not his best of the year, You would be correct. What is it that we are seeing some explosive runs mixed in too? Thought there was some pretty good blocking, especially from Wiley on the end there, where Josh Jacobs broke out on the edge. It's definitely not anything world beating, but efficient, tough, physical football. And this is what you need from your bell cow too. Just steady, reliable production that keeps the offense on schedule. You get 3, 4, 5 yards pop. And it seems like they're running at pretty efficiently between the tackles up the middle. That's what it looks like, and they're having some good production doing that. The offensive line battle, the benching. Jordan Morgan was completely benched. And I know a lot of people were clamoring for that, including myself. Man, Belton wasn't perfect. He still got a lot of room to grow. I think he'll continue to struggle on some stunts. I think Aleem McDeal really did a fantastic job of bull rushing him on that fourth down, that last play of the game, and basically, if Jordan Love didn't keep on, backing up and kind of throw that, Lee McDeal, I'm pretty sure it was him, really had a nice bull rush on him, so he'll have to work on that. Um, Belton looked pretty solid. He's looked pretty solid. And I think that this is the line combination we need. I think he got to the second level on some of those plays, and there wasn't anything major, no catastrophic breakdowns. And most importantly, the Packers didn't allow a single sack in this game. Zach Tom continues to dominate, continues to be absolutely outstanding. He completely neutralized Aiden Hutchinson for the second time this year, basically. And what happened? What happened to Aiden Hutchinson? I believe he got a couple of pressures. He got in the backfield a couple times, made a couple of good plays, but the difference between him and Micah Parsons is like night and day. And I get Micah Parsons is on another elite level, probably, with Myles Garrett, but Aiden Hutchinson's a very good player. So to be able to do that to one of the best defensive ends in the game is just, absolutely incredible, because, if Aiden Hutchinson ends up having a really good game and our offensive line didn't come out to play, this is probably a completely, different outcome. Aiden Hutchinson, he did have 3 tackles, 0 sacks, but, basically invisible. Yeah, I mean, Walker's hero moment, let's talk about that. Romeo Doubs scores a touchdown, but then has that terrible red zone fumble on the next drive. And Walker is definitely Johnny on the spot to fall on it. And that football took a Packers bounce, jumped right into the air. That was pretty awesome. But that right there, that's a potential 7-point swing. Or more if Detroit scores off that turnover. Walker saves Dobbs bacon, and maybe saves the game too, right? So just those little things in each one of the and in each of these games that you're just like, man, if that flips the other way, could definitely be a different outcome. The receiving corps, some mixed results. Christian Watson, the deep ball touchdown was just absolutely gorgeous. Talked about that a little bit from before. Got just enough of the defender to create some separation without drawing an offensive pass interference. Love just drops a beautiful rainbow into his hands. But Watson also had a couple of drops, including the crucial third down miss on the final drive. I don't really can't consider that on Watson. I think he was draped down pretty good. That's just me. But when he's on, and he was on in this game, he's a game changer for us. When he's not, I think it can definitely be very frustrating. Romeo Doubs touchdown on the fourth down, but also he had that fumble, so he needs to work on security of the football. Also seemed to let up on a free play earlier. Up and down day, for sure. We did have a Luke Musgrave sighting, and one of Jordan Love's better throws, but fantastic diving catch on the deep crosser. Exactly the type of play we want to see from him up the seam. And one of the rare times that Jordan Love hits Luke Musgrave 20 plus yards on down the field for just absolute dart. Musgrave goes out to lay out, and he catches the football. We're going to need to see more of that from Luke Musgrave if we want to continue this winning streak. Bull Melton, some limited snaps, but definitely was there when needed. So total offensive numbers, total yards, Packers 359, the Lions 352. That is a 7-yard difference if you're doing basic math. Passing yards, Packers 234, Lions 133, a 1-yard difference. Rushing yards, Packers 125, Lions 119, 6-yard difference. Plays 60 for each team. Penalty yards, Packers 20, Lions 22. 2-yard difference there, and then turnovers, there was none. And I mean, the only difference, this game came down to execution in the critical moments. I'm sure we'll get a little bit into that. And the Packers executed when it mattered the most. Let's move on to the defensive side of the football. This is the Rashawn Gary. Wait, no. This is the Micah Parsons story. Let's address the elephant in the room. The Cowboys traded Micah Parsons to the Packers. Holy hell, is he paying absolute dividends for this Green Bay Packers team, and especially of late. Micah's day, and here's the numbers: 2.5 sacks, all the clutch moments, 38.5% pressure rate, the highest he's had since his rookie year. Tackle for loss, the red zone sack that essentially shifted momentum, and some film breakdown, back-to-back beats. There's a sequence where Parsons beats Taylor Decker, kind of has that swipe to speed to swipe move on him, where he gets that beautiful sack on Jared Goff. And I'm honestly surprised Jared Goff ended up holding on to that football. And he's definitely one of the better left tackles in football. He's probably top 10, I would say, without just taking a look, at the numbers. Could be wrong there, but he's a pretty solid left tackle. And Micah Parsons has made him look silly. On that second play, Decker is expecting the outside move. Parsons just nukes him inside. Decker has no idea what to do. Parsons set him up beautifully. The impact. Parsons was living in Jared Goff's nightmares all day. And by all accounts, he's as good in the buildings as he is on the field. This trade is going to go down definitely as one of Goody's master, because he was absolutely everywhere. His speed, his twitch, is absolutely incredible. And honestly, I still cannot believe that Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer. He affected this game, and without Micah Parsons on the Green Bay Packers in 2025, we would not have won this game. So, I thought another thing on defense, they continued to contain really well outside on the edges. Obviously, I think that's a massive show out for Edrin Cooper, for Quay Walker, for Isaiah McDuffie, for Tyron Hopper. They have speed, sideline to sideline speed. Definitely have a lot of that horizontal speed. But they did a really good job of containing Jahmyr Gibbs again. It continues to be pretty remarkable, because he is just so twitchy. He's definitely one of the more explosive backs in football. This is what he does to everybody else. 146 carries, 932 yards for 6.4 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns through the air, 9.2 yards per catch. What he does against the Packers in 2 games: 29 carries, 87 yards, 3.0 yards per carry, 0 touchdowns through the air, and a 3.8 yards per catch. So let me say that again. Gibbs averages 6.4 against everyone else and 3.0 against the Packers. He's literally less than half as effective. It just seems like Hafley's kind of got that blueprint for Gibbs. And the defense definitely executed it, very well. And like I've alluded to, he is very, very talented. So to be able to hold down a weapon like that definitely helped us win this game. Tell you who was a problem though, Jameson Williams. Woo, man! If they showcase Jameson Williams some more, he could be an absolute monster. And realistically, if he doesn't drop that 4th down pass, which almost probably could have gone in for a touchdown. It was a little behind him. I'll give him that. But you know what the receivers say: if it's anywhere in the vicinity of your hands, you should catch it. And he would probably say, if he didn't already, that he should have caught it. But 7 catches for 144 yards and a touchdown. Man, that guy is fast. He's very, very, very fast. I'd love to see Matthew Golden be used the way that Jameson Williams was used in this game, or Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think that's another way, getting in some more crossers across the field, even if that's just short and intermediate. I think that's another way you could get Matthew Golden involved, the same way that they did here with Jameson Williams. And they needed to. They didn't have a choice because Amon-Ra St. Brown went out. They had Laporta already on IR, and Williams was basically the only, receiving weapon left. Although Tom Kennedy made a few plays out there today. The Carrington Valentine missed tackle, that was definitely brutal. He had a perfect read on it too. He just needed to physically go up and tackle him instead of throwing his shoulder at him. If he wraps that up, maybe that saves 4 points, field goal instead. with Jake Bates. Yeah, would have been a 4-point swing right there. So, you know, definitely not the best second quarter of defensive football that I've seen from them. Beyond Parsons, Devontae Wyatt had a strong game for the injury. More on that in a second, too. Kingsley and Igbare quietly had a really nice game. It seems like he's popping off 2, 3, 4 times a clip. Half sack, but plays on the edge. More impact than Rashawn Gary on the day. The run defense, outstanding overall. Outside of that one Valentine missed tackle on the screen, they held the Lions' rushing attack in check. And doing that against Dan Campbell scheme is definitely no small feat. The secondary's got some mixed bag. Evan Williams continues to be a revelation. Man, he is good. He loves to go down, and his run support, him sniffing out runs and tackling, the person at the line of scrimmage or before the line of scrimmage is absolutely elite. And Xavier McKinney was his usual steady self. The bad 3rd and 15 where Tom Kennedy, like I alluded to, got open from the seam for 23 yards. Hafley got a little too cute with disguising some stuff, so just playing a straight and letting the pass rush get home. I think some of the illegal contact call on Keyshawn Nixon, I do think that was pretty weak. I think the defender ran into him more than Nixon running into him. But by letter of, the rule book, definitely is considered a flag. So I don't know. I thought that the refs, needed to let that one ride, but you never know. That's kind of how it is. On getting back to Devontae Wyatt, man, this guy can just not catch a break. Jordan and I have talked about it ad nauseum from before, and he was my player to break out this year if the Packers were going to take another step up. He's probably going to be done for the season. I've heard mixed news reports. That's a fractured knee or whatever that might be, but I would be shocked if it wasn't a season-ending injury. Wait, no, it wasn't. It was a ligament damage in his ankle. That's right. Yeah, it's just brutal. And specifically why this hurts is, he's been pretty darn good all year. I think he's playing some really really good football. Was heading towards, an extension conversation. Micah Parsons loved to talk about him all the time too, and so Packers are now down to 4 defensive tackles. The one I don't want to say bad thing. It's not. Well, having still being able to have Kenny Clark, in this building would have definitely helped, in situations like this, right? But I would definitely easily still take Micah Parsons 100 times out of 100 times. So don't get me wrong on that. But Colby Wooden, Carl Brooks, Warren Brinson, Lucas Van Ness, they're going to need Brinson to step up in a major way for sure. He's starting to come on and quite a bit too. Had some pressures, a sack here and there. I'm starting to love what that Georgia product is putting on tape there, especially in limited snaps. But honestly, there's no replacing a talent like Devontae Wyatt, too. You know what I mean? I think for some possible solutions, maybe they kick Lucas Van Ness inside more in some passing situations. Maybe they work out some veterans. I've been seeing some more film and some stuff on the interwebs of different people that they could pluck off of some other teams' practice squads. But either way you shake it, this is a significant loss for a defense that's been playing elite football. And he was having a really good game today too. So it just sucks, man. I mean, I'm on Raw, got rolled up on, and Devontae Wyatt got rolled up on. Seems like a lot of these injuries, and I know that's hard to prevent on this, but tough to see no matter who you're rooting for. So let's talk about one other big caveat here. Matt LaFleur. All gas, no brakes returns, baby. Does it come at full force? I mean, for all the criticism, and there's been a lot, that he's taken this year. About being conservative, about not to lose instead of playing not to lose instead of to win, about being too cautious in big moments. This game was his response, and it was beautiful. The 4th down decisions, it basically came down to that. The first drive goes for it on 4th down in the red zone instead of taking the field goal, and that result, ended up being a touchdown to Dobbs. Mid game, goes for it on 4th down, result, touchdown to Wicks, the controversial catch. Final drive, back-to-back passes on 3rd and 4th down to win the game, and result, game-sealing conversion to Dontavian Wicks. 3 for 3 on 4th down, 2 touchdowns, game-sealing conversions. That's the aggressive version we've been begging for. And who would have thought Matt LaFleur would have out-aggressived, it's not a word, he was more aggressive than Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell was still his usual aggressive self. Now, I get it. Matt LaFleur is trying to put an identity to his name, and I love this for sure. I do. No risk it, no biscuit type of situation. So if this is who he wants to be, I'm all in for it. I'm definitely. It'll come back to bite you at times too, but at least you know what you're gonna get game in and game out. I mean, some people did want to run the clock down and milk the clock. I was one of those. I was thinking, okay, well maybe we should. Our defense has been playing pretty good. I already alluded to that. Then go for it in fourth. Nope. Jordan's getting 2 chances to win this game, and to me, that's the ultimate trust in your franchise quarterback. And that's to me, playing to your strength. And Matt LaFleur said that in his post game presser. We got 2 plays here. Go win it for us. And that's coaching. That's knowing your personnel. That's knowing your scheme. That's knowing your players. That's the evolution of this offense under LaFleur. Dan Campbell, aggressive but got burned. Same philosophy but different results. So easily be flip flopped. He played the same brand of football too. Went for it on 2 4th downs. Failed both times. 0 and 2 with 2 turnovers on downs at crushing moments, and that was definitely the case in this game. So it's the same philosophy as LaFleur, but execution is everything. When it works, you're a genius, right? When it doesn't, you're absolutely reckless and out of your mind. So today, LaFleur looks like a genius, and Campbell looks like he's restless. But I don't really just think it's not about philosophy. It's about players making plays. Jimmy's and Joe's, X's and O's. Campbell's always going to be aggressive. We know this. That's just who he is. And the thing I was really kind of clamoring for, just specifically from Matt LaFleur, is he always felt like he lived in the gray area and the in-between. Find your identity. Be that. Go out and do it. Do it well. Live or die by it. So I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, let me know what you think about all this today, Packers fans. It has been an amazing win for us, and now we continue this 3-game win streak to take on the Bears next week, which should be a really, really fun matchup and could just about it will define who wins the NFC North. We do have the Eagles and the Bears that are currently playing right now. I do not know the result of that. I would say that if you want more of a better chance at the 1 seed, you probably want the Eagles to lose. But if you want the Bears to win, obviously have a better shot at the NFC North, or Bears to lose, excuse me. So that is all that I have for you today, Packers Nation. It's good to be back. It really is. And you know what, everybody, if anyone who is still here, really hit a like. If you're not subscribed to us already, we would genuinely appreciate it. We are a smaller show, so any sort of subscriber, like, comment too, even if it's just a go pack go, hit a cheese emoji, whatever it might be. It really helps the algorithm, helps our push our video out to potential other Packers fans. So we would genuinely appreciate that too from the bottom of our hearts. And yeah, Jordan and I will be back together one of these days once the holidays and all this kind of major stuff kind of boils down. It's definitely getting closer and closer to that point. But love talking ball with you guys each and every week. Let me know what you thought. What did I miss? What did I hit on? Your overall thoughts, from the game, what this means for the rest of the season. I want to hear all your guys' thoughts. I really do enjoy engaging with you guys in the comments and building a community with you all. But that's all we have for you today, Packers Nation. We hope that you have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good night. Take care. Go Pack Go.
Been wanted this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey.